Good evening, Razorback fans. We want to welcome you to the one and the only Hawg Talk podcast, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks. We're coming to you live from the Electrical Supply Guys studios, and you can hear us on Buzz 2 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. I'm your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas. Alongside me is Jacob Davis from Arkansas Fight and Saturday Down South. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in beautiful downtown Ozark, Arkansas. And as always, we are powered by BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews, news for every league, and BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So head on over to BetOnline and use our promo code BLE50, BLEAV50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And from the sound of yesterday and the looks of yesterday and everything from yesterday, I think we wish we could have started that whole game over. Just a ugly performance all the way around. When you have KJ out, when you have Brini out, when you have Slusher out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Slusher instead of Brini. Sorry. There was somebody reporting that Brini was out and he ended up playing. But there's going to be a lot we're going to unpack throughout this show. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Because there's things that, when you think about why we do this show on a Sunday, you really have a day to reflect. I'm glad that we don't do the show on Saturday night because action would be different. The fans' reaction would be different. So you have a day to really sit back and think about what's going on with the team. But I'm telling you, I kind of called it without calling it last week and was saying, hey, KJ's probably not going to play. Mississippi State game's pretty much be a wash. We know they throw the ball 40 to 50 times. So I guess for me, and I'll get your take on it, and it's just the reaction. I was really surprised on the reaction by the fans of the outcome. Like, I seen the game being out of hand. I didn't see a way that because they were a pass-heavy team. Now, did I expect Mississippi State to come out and run the ball the way they did? No. But I had a feeling with him throwing the ball 40 to 50 times, and he even set completion record or something during the game. So that's where my confusion is. It's like, I understand everybody thinks the sky's falling in, but I want to say at this point last year, they were at the same spot. 3-game losing streak. You're coming up back in. BYU, it's going to be – I'm not saying it's going to be a cupcake, but you look at the back end of this schedule, it's not that bad. So, Jacob, what was your thoughts and what was your take on the game and then, of course, the reaction from the game?
Yeah, it's like my article in Saturday Down South this morning said, it was hard to find 3 things I liked, and it was really hard to narrow down 3 things I disliked that showed itself yesterday. Man, I don't know what to think about the performance yesterday. I thought defensively we knew what was going to happen. We knew they were going to go rush 3, drop 8. We knew they weren't going to even try to put any kind of green on Will Rogers' jersey. That was not the game plan. And with so many guys hurt, you're trying your best to mold the defense. You got guys out of position and putting Clark at safety, which I thought was a good move. And then you're trying to run out there with just Simeon Blair and and a couple of other guys on defense, and that was just hard. Now, where I don't have the issues with him defensively after a 24-hour layover here, thinking about it. What I do have an issue with was they started the wrong quarterback. I don't know if Sam Pittman and Malik have beef, or if he's in the doghouse, whatever it may be. But you can't tell me that K. Fortin passing to practice dummies, during the week, and was looking better than Hornsby, because you think about it 20 years ago to Matt Jones, and you remember how dynamic he was. We've heard that Dale Loggins out-practiced Matt Jones every single day of the week. But on Saturdays, it wasn't Dale Loggins out there making the plays. It was Matt Jones out there making the highlight reel plays. He was a dynamic playmaker. And that's the same way with K. Fortin. There's no substitute for true talent, and that's what Malik Hornsby has. No, he's not going to beat you in a throwing competition, but he gives you the dynamic running the football. And that's what Arkansas needed, was a guy to run for 150 and pass for 150. And if it wasn't for, them stalling the first two drives with K. Fortin and then inserting K. Fortin on a third down call, which was a passing down. I mean, there was a couple of mistakes early on that I think Arkansas left points on the board, especially with a couple of goal line situations there. I don't know how many points they've left on the board this year or on the field this year, Porter, but it seems every single week we see like maybe two or three scores leaving it on the field, not in the end zone.
First point. How quickly everybody forgets that Malik Hornsby scrubbed his social media last week. If he did that
still
publicly,
thought about it in the back of my mind.
He did that publicly. What did he do behind the closed doors? What did he do in the locker room? What did he do throughout the week, throughout practice?
Right.
We don't know. So here's the thing. We know Coach Pittman is a man of integrity.
Yeah.
He's not going to out Malik Hornsby. That's still his kid. That's still his player, right?
Right.
So everybody this is where these rose-colored glasses come in. Why didn't they start Malik? Why didn't they start Malik? He's the better quarterback. Yes, he is. But if we really think about it, what if he, publicly he scrubbed his social media? He threw a tantrum or something. I don't know. I'm speculating, giving my opinion. If that's how he acted publicly, how did he act behind closed doors? And Sam Pittman's probably like, hey, look, man, if that's how you're going to act, I'm not starting you. One, you're setting the tone as a leader, being the head coach, that I don't care who you are. I don't care if KJ's out. You're going to act like that. I'm not starting you. Yeah. And that's another thing. I'm surprised nobody's even mentioned that. Everybody is just up in arms about Sam Pittman don't know what he's doing. Bryles is doing this. I mean, we all seen the throw that he threw in the end zone was way off base.
Yeah.
Way off base. There was another throw in the midfield. It went to the damn near the daggum Mississippi State logo, and the guy was running to the hash. And I'm not saying he played a trash game. Again, I'm not saying he played a horrible game. He did really good. We know who should have started. But I'm telling you right now, then I will say this in front of any Razorback fan to their face, Sam Pittman is not going to take his integrity and put it to the side just for somebody who wants to act a fool and do that publicly.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with how things are done, you handle it again, I commend Sam Pittman for taking that chewing, because he got all those questions and not one person with even thought to think about, well, maybe this was punishment because of what he did last week. Nobody's thinking about that.
No. Yeah. And I didn't think about it either. I did think in the back of my mind what he did on social media last week. But when you think about what happens behind closed doors, you don't really think about it. I mean, did we even know what Alex Collins was doing to have to carry around a wet mattress back in the 2014 season? We were like, and he wasn't getting nearly the amount of carries that we thought he should have, even though he was a special talent. And what happens behind closed doors is what this pertains to. And I think you bring up a valid point there, Porter, that, you think, Malik was the solid option. That may be who Kendall wanted the whole time in there at quarterback. But I do like your point there. I want to. You got to be held responsible.
Well, and everybody wants to throw out, what the coaches make this money. This is why they make the money, because they have to sit there and answer these questions. And because you know what, if Sam Pittman would have outed Malik Hornsby, and this is if this is the case, just strictly if this is the case, if he would have outed Malik Hornsby, everybody would have been on Sam. How could you have called him out like that? How could you have done that?
Right.
He sat there and took it, and knowing I think there's something internally going on. I mean, he entered the transfer portal to begin the season. They talked him into coming, and then something like this happens, he scrubs it. And then, and this is where I'll back the fans. When you scrub your social media, and I touched on this, and then the fans react to it, and then he gets onto the fans for their reaction or saying, don't be saying things.
I wasn't transferring.
Don't put yourself in a position. Don't do anything. Because I'm telling you right now, there's a certain school that I root for. They have a no social media policy during season. They don't allow them on any social media for that point. And I think it's more to protect them. And that way it protects the program. You're not getting out there and doing things that you should. And we're, they're kids. So they're going to go off emotions. And we know it. We do it at the same thing when we're watching the game, when they're tweeting during the game. Sometimes I wish I didn't have my phone on me during the game. But
I wish I didn't. I text. I say stupid crap every game.
but we got to really take a step back, because one, like with us, even if it's personal or not, I mean, we still reflect who we reflect. And if we say something ignorant, we're going to get called out for it. So, I mean, I think that's a big reason of why, just my opinion, one person's opinion on why he didn't start. If that's really what happened, but I mean, it's logical to me because that would make perfect sense. But if that's the case, and then the media, everybody's on the media, ask the tough questions. I mean, they do. They make these press conferences public now. They put them on YouTube. You can see that they're answering questions. And I will say one thing though, and I don't know if it will ever happen, but I do think at some point we need to hear from the coordinators. They're getting paid millions too. I think they should have to answer. I don't think all of it should fall on Sam Pittman. I think the coordinators should answer some things. I mean, that's just fair. But if that's the way, and that is where it's a catch-22, if Coach Pittman doesn't want his coordinators out there, he's going to have to accept and take the fall for it. And we have to accept that he doesn't want his coordinators putting out there. And I guess in a way, you've got three people answering the same kind of questions. You're going to get kind of three different versions. That's three different types that you could spin things out of context. So, I mean, in a way, I can see why it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, if Arkansas was ever able to talk, or the media was able to talk to Arkansas coordinators, I would ask Barry Odom, why didn't you at least go to 4-man front on some downs? Because Mississippi State was 3 of 5 on fourth down, and I mean, even though they were 5 of 13 on third down, they still gave up the fourth down plays. A lot of those early on, I mean, Mississippi State knew what they were doing, and Mike Leach countered with a bunch of run plays. I think what did they do? Run 33 rushing plays or 30 rushing plays for 163 yards, if I'm remembering correctly. It's like he's going at you play after play after play, and you're not responding to that. And I know you're having to try to protect your weaknesses there. But maybe take one of the defensive backs out and put a 4-man front out there, or I don't know what the answer is as far. And that, I mean, this game's over now. I mean, we can go back and say what it was.
Coach Pittman's basically saying without saying, Bumper Pool's out there playing hurt.
Yeah,
you're already out Slusher. Pool's playing hurt. Well, who else? I mean, that's the thing. And I don't know how much how hurt he is, but that's what he's saying. He's been playing hurt the whole time. But I mean, there is
hurt his whole career too.
He does. He's like a Grant Morgan. He sits there and plays. Yeah. Grant Morgan played hurt how many times? I mean, but that's just what that position and wearing that C on that jersey means to those guys. But
pride. There's a lot of pride.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say is congratulations to Bumper Pool. He didn't get to celebrate his tackle record the way we all thought he would be able to. But man, the guy's played 5 years here, really 4 complete years. The 2018 season, he only played like 5 or 6 games, sparingly. But I know he may listen to this show every once in a while, but I do want to congratulate Bump for breaking Tony Bua's record and having his name submitted in the record books at the University of Arkansas. So congratulations there to Bump.
Yeah, big. And another point is with the, I think a lot of it is it's 50-50 on the offensive side of the ball of play calling / per execution. You had 10 penalties, 84 yards. What's that?
Oh, yeah, both ways. Absolutely.
Because you look at the stats. You had 242 yards passing, 241 yards rushing. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's even. That's what you want to do.
It's just the penalties and then how many interceptions they could have. I mean, and we can go through the what ifs, and I don't even think that if there's some people that was saying if KJ was healthy, I mean, I don't think they still would have won because of the defensive woes. And again, like I said, he is a run first quarterback. Malik is a run first quarterback. I think a lot of it too was if it wasn't true or whatever, like he was really doing better in practice, maybe they were trying to throw a different look at instead of run first. Right. Maybe they wanted a pocket passer. I mean, I don't know. And I don't even know if they gave him enough sample size. I don't know how many drives he was in. And the first half I was kind of in and out of the game, but it's just they're moving forward. Like I said, it's like you knew it was going to happen. You kind of knew it. I mean, he had 395 yards passing. He had 48 attempts. I said 45 to 50, and he had 48 attempts. 31-48 for 395 was what they had passing. But they also had 173 yards rushing. I mean, they did just as good, when it comes to the balance attack. They did just as well as Arkansas did, and they just got more points on the board.
Arkansas at least left 3 touchdowns on the field. I do. I mean, I believe. I mean, there was that Malik Hornsby goal line situation. Was he down there twice? I think once in the first half and once in the second half. And, I mean, Arkansas was driving the football pretty good. I mean, and then you take away 2 of the touchdowns in the end zone. If you just get 2 of those picks in the end zone, that changes the score too. I mean, and then there were so many tip balls, and Arkansas just wasn't ever able to capitalize on it. And in past against Mike Leach coach teams at Mississippi State, Arkansas has been able to create turnovers, at least 1 or 2. But Arkansas had the opportunity to have 7 turnovers through the air on Saturday and weren't able to get a single dang one of them. How does that even happen? I guess that's why, it's like Kirk Herbstreit used to say in the NCAA 14 games is, that's why they don't play wide receiver there.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. I mean, that one went through Malik Chaves' hands, and then one was going to be a fantastic diving catch interception. That one
went through the guy's hands in Mississippi State touchdown. Now, and the one I was talking about with Malik, that was in the second half. I mean, the guy, like I said, he was just, and I will say this in a way when you look back on it, if you look at the lineman's hands, it was kind of stretching out a little bit, and I think it just just for a split second, it threw his trajectory off where it was, way off base. But still, if you're an SEC quarterback, you kind of, I mean, especially as supposed he is pump fake run. I mean, he had 116 yards rushing, or 114, had 114 yards rushing. So, I mean, Rocket Sanders was held under 100. He had 86 yards, and then DeBinion had 30. I mean, they were running the ball really well. And then just, he's 8 for 17 for 234 in passing, but he threw 2 picks. So, I mean, again,
time of possession, it was like 38-23, wasn't it?
Let me see if it's on here.
Should be at the bottom of your
35-24. They had the ball for 35 minutes. Arkansas had it for 24 minutes, but
and like 23 minutes in the first half.
And they did decent on the third down. What we talked about, they were 5 for 13. Arkansas was 8 for 16. So I mean, 50% on third down. It's not, but 3 for 4 on fourth down was Mississippi State. So it's like, we talk about the third down. And it's like they almost do the good on the third down, but now we're pushed to fourth down, and it's just a rough go because of it started off with the 3-game win streak, and look at what South Carolina did to Kentucky. So you got to hold that as a quality win now.
Yes.
I mean, South Carolina looks like a different team. So you got to hold that win as a little bit of a quality win. You go to BYU, they got beat by Notre Dame 28-20, I believe, but they haven't just impressed me. And with Arkansas, it's almost like, all right, now I still haven't heard anything on KJ's situation. I would assume from the reports that I heard that he was clear, but they just didn't want to mess with putting him in. But then I heard another report saying that would get him cleared first thing Monday and then start preparation. So I don't know exactly what's going on when it comes to, the injuries or KJ's injury when he's coming back. But I would suggest he would come back next week. But you get him back. I haven't heard anything on Slusher. Marcus Kennedy wants to know about Slusher. I haven't heard anything on Slusher. It's perfectly right here. Love the Hogs. Typical football fans know these types of games are going to happen 2 or 3 times this season. And that's true until you get SEC depth where you look at Alabama's case. I know they escaped against A&M, but you look at what the quarterback that come in and did what he did against Arkansas on the third downs. When you get the SEC depth and when that comes, I don't know. I haven't seen the recruiting rankings or anything like that, but I still think it's going to be a little bit. You're trying to recruit in the toughest conference in America. And then besides that, you got Texas and OU looming coming in. It's not easy. And sometimes as a fan base, you just got to realize that we're going to be that team that maybe 1 or 2 times every 10 years, we're going to win 9-10 games. After that, we're just going to be an 8-9 win, 7-8 win season. It's just how you can only play with what you got to work with, Yeah.
Yeah, and look, guys, I know. I did say I was hoping for 11 wins. I was hoping 10, 11. Like I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and that's when you have a completely healthy squad. Like this Arkansas team, man, Porter. They're still 3 years removed from the worst era of football in Razorback football history. They don't have the depth yet. Even if they did have the depth, they're still all freshmen and sophomores, maybe redshirt freshmen. Arkansas, they are hurting. When they lose their best starters, they're still going to hurt. It's not like A&M, where they have 7 5-star freaking freshman defensive linemen out there making plays. Arkansas's not going to have that. I don't know of any other program in the country that has 7 5-star defensive linemen that are freshmen out there making plays. There's not. But it's going to take time.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's going to take time, but they're starting to get urgency. When OU and Texas announced they were coming to the SEC, it takes time, but look, you can't get complacent. You've got to look at the other programs that have turned things around with just a couple of classes. I know it's different per sport but the SEC is elite in a lot of the sports. You're recruiting against the same schools in different sports. Arkansas's just got to get to the point where they're getting the dogs. How they got to get it, they've been doing really good with the transfer portal, but health is a lot of it. And then you lose. Would you have loved to have the guys that went to LSU?
Oh, absolutely.
Depth. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And then that's on us when we try to be the couch coach and think that we know what should be done when we don't know what's going on the other side of that curtain. So again, that's what we started off the show with. It's a good thing we do this thing a day beyond and kind of come to our senses a little bit, opposed to we're doing this right after the game, because who knows what our reaction would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Abby Green says we have to get new coordinators before the new year, or I would go bonkers.
I don't think that's the answer.
I don't think you change. You do not change. That is not the answer as far. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to whoever Avi Green is, but that's not the answer to this. You had 2 high-level coordinators that have proven it And Arkansas just doesn't have the horses, man. You put up 500 yards or nearly 500 yards of offense with your backup quarterback in there. Heck, you don't fire that guy. Now, I've seen Javante Herndon. I've saw Madre Hill. Guys talking about needing to get a new offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is not your problem, guys. The offensive coordinator is absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with this offense. You're playing a backup quarterback. Now, I would be worried about your defense, but no, there's no reason to ever say that Barry Odom and Kendall Briles need to be fired because this isn't Chavis and that Moocher that's now at Mid Tennessee State as a graduate assistant. I can't remember the guy's name. That was offensive coordinator in a Chad, but man, that was those guys deserve to be fired. These guys, Odom and Briles, do not.
Yeah, and this comment, feel like we get something going. If Jefferson's back healthy, we can win all our games, be 7-3. I mean, I said last week, if Arkansas loses against Mississippi State, they still have a chance of being a 9-win season. It's a possibility. And I know Ole Miss pulled away, but how many times have I told you Arkansas can't get in a hole against certain teams? Ole Miss can't hang around and let Arkansas play the way Ole Miss did against Vandy. Because Arkansas will run down their throat and they'll score some touchdowns. I mean, this is the thing. Like, teams are showing the vulnerable. We don't know what state of the team that Auburn and LSU is going to be in. We know, Missouri's played good defense. They've had a good defensive game. But when I looked at the back end of the schedule, I'm saying possibility. I'm not predicting anything yet. I'm saying a possibility. Maybe, all right, if you want to throw out the Ole Miss game, all right, you don't think we can outscore them. The other schools, the other teams, even BYU included, I think Arkansas can outscore these teams with their running game. Because if you can run, especially the way KJ's been running and Sanders has been running and DeBinion's been running, you get that possession to where you're at 35, they're 24, and you're running the ball and you're scoring, you're going to keep the ball away from them and you're going to score more points than they do. That's just how I feel about it. You're going to beat Liberty. That's another given game. So if I said they're 3-3 right now, then you go LSU, Auburn, Missouri, and Liberty. That gives you 7 right there. 4 wins. There's 7. So then you got to win 2 more. But, it's just the thing that – what's that?
And the majority of those games after this BYU and Auburn, the rest of them are almost at home except Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So you're back home, and that gives you at least 7 wins there. And
then if you win the Ole Miss game, you've got that. And when I say 9 wins, if you go to a bowl game and win, you can be a 9-win team. That's something real. This was what happened last year after the 3-game losing skid. And a lot of people was saying, well, they were playing better football last. No, they weren't. They got blown out by Georgia. They they scored 51 points and a 2-point conversion away from Ole Miss, but they still allowed 52 points to Ole Miss. And then Auburn, Bo Nix had the game of his life against Arkansas. So, they didn't necessarily play. I would call it an even scratch when you're talking about last year and this year and the performance that they played. You look at the Alabama game. That was the Georgia game. You look at the Mississippi State game. There was the Auburn game. Yep. And then the Texas A&M game that lost. It was a crapshoot. The Ole Miss game was a crapshoot. You get the 2-point conversion, you win. You kick the field goal, you win. So to sit there and say that they were playing much better ball, it's kind of in the same situation. Yeah,
I thought about the same thing too. And you think about, Arkansas, the ball bounced their way a lot last year. How many games last year did they win by 1 possession?
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because of the senior leadership. You had a Grant Morgan, you had Hayden Henry, you had Traylon Burks. You had a lot of guys that were the leaders of this team. And now you lost them all. You're reeling. And you had Catalan gone back-to-back seasons. So you're playing with fire right now. And you go to BYU on the road. And this is what's going to be an interesting game, Porter, because BYU's been 2 different teams all year long. They're either really good or they're really bad, or they're not really bad, maybe more mediocre. They do kind of have like the Arkansas feel to it. Like when things are going good, they're really good, and when things are going bad, they're just kind of terrible. And BYU just They had a couple of times where they could have stopped Notre Dame, especially on that fourth down, and BYU could have come back and drove down the field to beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame was able to close it out, and maybe with some referees' help over there in Vegas. But yeah,
Well,
this is going to be a tough one.
if you look at the schedule, you got Ole Miss right before Missouri. So I mean, this BYU game is going to be a pivotal when it comes to how is this season going to play out. This is going to be pivotal. I think they can beat BYU.
Oh yeah.
Then you go to Auburn, which, like I said, Auburn. I mean, they got 2 weeks to get ready for you. I don't know if they have a game in between BYU or not, but their program. I mean, they just got blown out by LSU.
Uh-huh.
Then you look at Liberty. Then you have LSU, not LSU. Who did Auburn get beat by? Was it LSU? No, Tennessee beat LSU. Who did Auburn get beat by?
Auburn's been beat by a lot of people this year. Georgia got beat by Georgia yesterday. They got beat by 4.
By Georgia yesterday.
They lost by 4 to LSU the week before last.
Well, I was thinking LSU. They got beat by Tennessee, and Auburn got beat by Georgia. But then LSU again. You don't know what these teams are going to be the further down this schedule you go. So I mean, you reel off 1, 2, 3, 4. You're sitting at 7-3 come Ole Miss game. Say you do drop that game. You're 7-4. You beat Missouri. You're 8-4. You go to a bowl game, win that, and you're 9-4 again. And I don't know. I mean, maybe
that's where you projected them to be.
I predicted 9 wins at the beginning of the year. But I mean, there might be a different feel. Every year is different. But I'm just saying, if they do win 9 games, they do go on a 3-game winning streak, and then they go into Ole Miss. I mean, they could end up winning that game. It's at home. You've got a lot of momentum. Ole Miss coming to town. You don't know what they've got ahead of them. I don't know when they exactly play Bama, but Bama's on their schedule. A&M's on their schedule. So, it's just anything can happen. I see an Ole Miss struggle for 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters against Vandy. Anything can happen. I mean, it's a winnable game. But because
like Josh Pate says, any given Saturday. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
and I love seeing Lane Kiffin be 6-0. That's my boy. That's who I always wanted to be the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. But he's doing a good job, and they're a good defensive team. They're not going to blow you up on offense. So I think they're more of a similar to what Texas A&M is too. I'm not completely sold on Ole Miss until I see them go toe to toe against Bama and LSU and to see what they have, because because you saw how Kentucky is. I mean, they are kind of just, I don't know what you'd call it, because they were without Will Levis last night, and so I don't know. It's a tough situation there with Kentucky, but there's no separation. I mean, Tennessee separated themselves, but with Kentucky and Ole Miss, I don't know. I think Arkansas can beat Ole Miss. To be honest, I don't think they have the offensive firepower outside of the run game to maybe, with Arkansas being at home, both 2 of the best running games in the country. Maybe Arkansas and Ole Miss could be a pretty good classic, and that could be a game that Arkansas gets bowl eligible on. Yeah,
but we'll touch on more after the break. We're going up on a commercial break right now, but after the break, we will get back into the game. We'll talk more of the BYU situation and the game coming up, what it's going to take for Arkansas to win out if they do drop a game to Ole Miss, where that puts them. But we'll be right back. Do you need those pesky stumps ground before the winter? Your pasture brush hogged, or need your driveway bladed? Here at Grind It Right Outdoor Services, we offer more than just stump grinding. We have recently expanded our business to include tractor work as well. So along with stump grinding, we offer bush hogging, land clearing, grading driveways, placing, and even spreading gravel. We are locally owned and operated, so call Danny today for a free quote at 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641. Again, that is 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641.
Shelby Taylor Trucking serves all your timberland needs in South Central Arkansas. With over 50 years in the industry, Shelby Taylor Trucking has established themselves as trustworthy leaders in the industry. From planting to harvesting to hauling your timber, Shelby Taylor Trucking is ready to serve you. Follow them on all social media platforms at Shelby Taylor Trucking. Learn more by visiting their website at staylortrucking.com. That's staylortrucking.com.
Camelot Exteriors specializes in identifying hail, wind, and other storm damage, as well as residential and commercial roof installations and re-roofing. We use only the highest quality materials from certified suppliers while putting a lifetime labor warranty on all of our roofs. Our mission is to provide our customers with the highest quality roofing project customized to fit each one of their needs and to provide exceptional service through the entire process. Camelot Exteriors is based in Norman, Oklahoma, but we proudly currently serve 9 other states as a premier nationwide roofing company. So call us today at 833-799-7663 for your free estimate. Camelot Exteriors, your storm damage restoration experts. If you want the best service and prices in Northwest Arkansas and Southwest Missouri for all your plumbing and electrical needs, then look no further than Corey Hyman, the plumbing electrical supply guy. Corey is in full steam ahead and providing the best electrical, plumbing, and septic supply service around. So call Corey at 479-301-8220 or email him at chindman, that's HINDMAN, at andersonp.com. Again, that is 479-301-8220.
McCoy Tiger Drug Store of Sheridan, Arkansas has been the top pharmacy in all of South Central Arkansas since 1895. They were also the 2020 Good Neighbor Pharmacy of the Year. They not only fix you up with your prescription with timely and friendly service, but also an elite gift shop. All your OTC needs, baby and wedding registries, tuxedo rentals, and much more. They're located at 821 North Rock Street in Sheridan. Give them a call today at 870-942-5121.
And we want to welcome you back to the episode of the Hawg Talk podcast. And before we get back into it, man, I got to give my son a shout out. I told him I'd wear it. He got him another silver medal this week at the bowling tournament. So at the Special Olympics at the Region 2, sadly, he did qualify for state, but we're going to be in Disneyland during that time, so he will not be able to participate in the state tournament for the bowling, but he's already ramped up and ready to go for the track and field, which will be in April. So I told him I'd wear this tonight for him. And you see, of course, behind me, I always have the Special Olympics of Arkansas banner flying in the Hyman Services studios. So a proud papa moment for me for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. I love Special Olympics. I went, and I said that a few weeks ago, too. That's awesome. Proud of your son. And there's nothing but good things when you get to be able to wear your son's medal with pride.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. I tell everybody he's my dude. We've been through a lot, in his 12 years and stuff. So if you want to get the waterworks going, that's my switch when it comes to, that's my buddy. So I had to give him a shout out. I told him would. And got to appreciate my boy Cabo for giving him a shout out on Drive Time Sports the other day. Gavin, I showed him the clip of it, man. He was just stoked. So he tries to be humble and not want to be a celebrity, but he had a little Instagram account and he has like 35 followers on there. And he's like, I guess I'm becoming popular. It's just, so he thinks he's a stud now, but no, moving on.
That reminds me of my little sister before we go to the next, my little sister has Down syndrome and she's like a NASCAR super fan, kind of like similar to Kane and Sandy. And she was during the pre-race show a couple of years ago down in Daytona. They were talking about her. She was down there getting autographs signed by folks, and they're like, "Yeah, if you ever see her on Twitter, that's Maggie Jo Davis. You need to go follow her."
That's right.
that was about 10 minutes before the green flag dropped, and they were like NASCAR super fan, just great girl, and Kyle Petty and all those names in the NASCAR community were just talking about her. It was really cool seeing that. But yeah, it's really cool, man. Those kids, they need to feel important just like that we do, and being able to have those games, man, and be able to show pride and boast in their abilities is important to the world. And congratulations to your son again.
Oh yeah, it's awesome to be able to showcase it and promote. And that's the thing, man. We got this platform, and you know, I wouldn't feel right if we didn't use it to sit there and promote the Special Olympics and do anything with autism awareness, which I'm heavily involved in autism awareness and Special Olympics. And, you know, just because it touches you, you want to do good. And that's what we're trying to do, you know, with how, you know, we're growing at the Hawg Talk. You know, I want to be able to get to the point to where, you know, I can send some of these kids to these camps, and I can send some of these kids to do stuff with the Special Olympics or, you know, whatever we can do. But yeah, it's a great feeling to be able to give back and see that, you know, they see that other people are there cheering them on. Like, it was really cool. My son's mother was there at the tournament, and she said there was just so many people there to watch. And so they really enjoyed that. But anyway, moving back on into, you know, next week's game against BYU, we'll break it down more come Wednesday, but you know, just watching them, like you said, it's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of deal. And I think, you know, BYU is going to be ready. This is not going to be a cakewalk. You know, it's going to be a 2:30 game. And they, like every school outside of a Power 5, I should say, or even sometimes with the Pac-12 or ACC, you know, being an SEC team, always you got a target on your back. No matter when Arkansas was at their lowest, you know, teams really, North Texas and Western Kentucky, and, you know, they really had a badge of honor. You beat an SEC school. So no matter how bad you are, even beating an SEC school and BYU, I don't know how far they'll fall in the rankings, but they're probably still going to be ranked. So, you know, it's going to be a ranked win for Arkansas if they win, but yet it's going to be an SEC win if BYU, you know, comes out on top.
Yeah.
Plus you're going out there, and I think that when it comes to, you know, the altitude and all that, I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal when it comes to the game time, gameplay. But I just don't know if they're ready for our physicality. You know, Cincinnati kind of had the same thing going. They thought they were going to come in and be able to battle and outwork Arkansas. And I just don't think that they're going to be able to, when it comes down to the 40 minutes, 60 minutes, you know, they're not going to be able to hang with Arkansas physically. And I don't think they have a big enough passing attack to sit there and hang with Arkansas.
Yeah. Marcus Kennedy says that BYU was not ranked this week, so they fell from 16th completely out, which is a surprise. Yeah. They could have at least been 25. But there's been a lot of movement in the polls, rightfully so, because you look around and I think they said there's like 12 teams that were in the preseason top 25 that are no longer in it, and I think that was one of the fifth quarter accounts that tweeted that out. There's like 10 to 12 teams. That's just amazing to me, and that just shows you how much unknown there is in college football to start the season. I mean, we were all talking about how Clemson wasn't going to be nearly as good, and now here they are, looking good as or even better than what we thought they would be. So DJ Ugalage,
I just call him
how to say
DJ.
DJ, yeah. But he's starting to look pretty solid. I mean, you look at Ohio State, who probably deserves to be number one. You had Georgia there that escaped Missouri and then had a close loss to. I mean, there's just a lot of teams there that things are starting to separate themselves. You know who the guys are that are real ones and who's not. I think there's more parity also in the college football world too. So, yeah, it's sad it's not going to be a ranked win if Arkansas is able to capitalize. You also get your quarterback back, like we said earlier. You maybe can get Slusher back from a calf injury. Maybe let him nurse it this week and have him back on Wednesday for BYU prep. So I think you're going to be able to go back to your four-man front. You're maybe going to get your secondary back and healthy after next week. I mean, luckily you have a bye week after this. So this is a huge game for Arkansas. You go into a bye week to prepare for Auburn the next week. If you win it, great. If you don't win it, it's going to be a long 13 days after that. So thinking about what's going to happen.
You got to look at the fact of where Auburn is, where LSU is, where Missouri is, and look where you're at as a program.
Yeah.
You're on the rise. So, yeah, you're on a little 3-game skid right now, but I'm talking about program as a whole. LSU's got a brand new coach. They're trying to figure out their program. Harsin at Auburn's, he's halfway out the door from reports I'm hearing. Missouri, we know, Drink got lucky against Georgia and played them tough and, barely got beat by them, but they still lost. But you look at where Arkansas is at a program and they're on the rise. They won 9 wins last year. So you've got to win those type of games. The Auburn game, that should be a win. Missouri game should be a win. LSU game should be a win. Just how they are looking as a team. And you look at the quarterback play, who's going to be healthy, who's going to be playing, what kind of injuries. Look at what we're dealing with injuries. Look at it, BYU. They only had 120 yards passing. Jaron Hall was 9 of 17, 2 touchdowns, and he threw it to the same guy. Cody Epps had 4 receptions for 100 yards. So you look at their team right there, and they had one threat.
That was, I think, would you say Corey Epps? Is that who you said?
Cody Epps.
Cody, yeah. And one of those was like a 50 or 60-yard touchdown because of a blown coverage or a missed tackle and was a touchdown. It was a long touchdown, too. So, yeah, that – man, blown coverage, that sounds just like the Arkansas 3-game losing streak, too. And
their rushing attack, it was what – they had Chris Brown Jr. had 14 carries for 86 yards, average 6 yards a carry. That's respectful, But their quarterback, Jaron Hall, 5 rushes for 11 yards. So that tells me he's not that big. He's almost like a Will Rogers. He's not going to be that explosive of – so I really do think – I'm really thinking they come back with the forefront this game.
Yeah.
They don't – and now if they had 2 guys that were threats and gunners – and it's funny I say that there are other receivers named Gunner. They had 2 gunners where you really had to spread it out and make them find that soft spot in the zone, and maybe you drop back. But I think with this, you want to bring pressure. I think this is a statement game for Arkansas because they're catching a lot of crap for the OC side. And I guess, again, when I talk about pivotal game, this is going to change my perceptive of this season. I'm not saying that if Arkansas comes out and they get in a shootout with this team, show 100% effort and just lose the game. I'm saying if they come out flat, the play calling's atrocious, the defensive play is atrocious, and they fall flat on their face and they let BYU beat them like Mississippi State did, we're going to have a different kind of talk next week when we're on the show. But if they go out and win this game, which I think they are, impose their will, I think this is going to be a game where this is a statement. All right, y'all thought we were down. Y'all thought we were down last year. It's time to step it up. You're going to get KJ back more than likely. We'll see. Until I hear from the team that he's playing or he's clear to go, I'm not going to say that he is or isn't. Same thing with Slusher. That's another thing. There's people out there that are trying to be press. They're trying to be media. They're trying to be in the press rooms. I'm telling you, if it's portal news, if it's anything rumors like with this Malik stuff in his social media, and we've said this, look, when it comes to injuries, you cannot sit there and speculate. You cannot sit there and say, well, he's got a concussion. He's on concussion protocol. That's very dangerous because this is what's going to happen. And I'm just going to be completely honest. We have a lot of privilege when we get to watch some of these press conferences. We get Zooms. We get to watch this stuff on YouTube. I'm telling you right now, if people keep on leaking, and I've heard this come from somebody's mouth, said to me, if people keep on leaking this information on these Facebook sites or in the media, on Twitter, they're going to shut down all Zooms. They're going to be in person only. And the only people that's going to know what's going on in that program is the people who go to practice and are sitting in that press conference. So for the people like us who rely on that information, who rely on getting to watch the press conferences, who rely on people who are in the rooms to give us that information so we can pass it along to our audience, because we don't have the credentials. We're a podcast. We're never going to get credentialed to go to these games. I just wish that people would just let the thing play out. I understand even if you knew. I'm telling you, 85% of the people knew that he probably more than likely was not going to play. but it's not our lane. It's not our place to sit there and say that. And I'm sorry that if this upsets some people, but sometimes you got to respect the program and respect the way things are, because there's certain lanes that we have to stay in as a podcast, or as, I'm media on the women's side. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm media on the football side, the basketball and baseball side, because I don't cover them. I'm not credentialed. I'll sit here and say I'm media credentialed for every women's program, and I can say I'm media on the women's side. So I'm not going to act like I'm an insider for the football program, but I get certain access and certain emails and certain information that could get taken away from me if this stuff starts getting leaked again. That's just the way it is and the way it's going to happen. And I'm sorry if I got on a soapbox there for a minute and said that, but it's the truth. It's what's going to happen. So this information that you're getting, it can be taken away.
Yeah, and everybody wants to do it for Facebook likes or Twitter clout, and that's what it's all about, Porter. Like people want to have clout, and yeah, I'll throw stuff against the wall but it's not something I'm gonna go say, oh, Catalan, man, he's out for the season, or say, no, KJ's in concussion protocol. Pittman comes out and says, I never said he was in concussion protocol. Like, you've got to take care of things and not let things slip just because you think you have a source or think you have the inside info as far as injuries goes. You have to be respectful of the program, just like you said. You have to be respectful of the coaches, and you have to be respectful of the players, because the players may not want it out there.
Well, and here's the deal. I'll stop it at just the injury stuff. That's the only for every rule there's an exception. That's the exception. You can spread all your stuff you want or get the insight you want when it comes to the program. If somebody's left the trend or into the portal or scrubbed their stuff, hey, that's fair game.
Absolutely.
But when you talk about injuries and stuff, when it's been said multiple times, don't leak.
Yeah.
But I'm just out here being a messenger. I know what's going to happen if these things keep on getting leaked. Everybody's going to lose their privileges to even be able to. People who watch this stuff remotely, they're going to lose all their privileges. You're going to have to be in person. So, but moving on.
Go ahead.
I got on the soapbox for a little bit, but no, it's just, all right. Listen, and it's touchy for me, and here I'll be straight up about it. It's touchy for me because I want that access that, I don't get to go be able to be in the press conference rooms and see this stuff. It's nice to be able to rely on Pig Trail Nation and other entities that I can watch the press conferences. Pat Jenkins, who gets to go in there and record it and put it on his Facebook. We get to rely on the people that we know to sit there and look at this information, and then we do it the right way, wait on to we see somebody with the check mark or in the media say something, and then we do it. It's just that's why. I don't want it getting taken away from me. And so
I agree with that.
Maybe it's just a plea. Look, I understand that you got your audience. Speak to your audience however you want to, but it's just like when it comes to that injury stuff, it's almost like, hey, let that be. Because it could get a lot of people in trouble. And the people who have those followings and that audience, it's going to allow you to keep doing it, because if you get blacklisted from that, you're not going to be able to share that information to your audience anymore.
You're right.
But anyways, this BYU game is going to be very pivotal when it comes to the season. I mean, it can honestly mean the difference between 9 wins or 7 wins, 9 wins and 6 wins. I just don't think that if you're going into a game that you have a chance to win and you're trying to prove a point, try to get back on track, you cannot go into this game and lay an egg.
Yeah. Speaking of going into the game, Arkansas is going into the game as a 3-point favorite per Vegas. So BYU is going in the game with Arkansas. They're 3-point favorites over Arkansas. That's going to be.
I've seen 2.
Yeah. I think that's fair because it's a road game, and Arkansas is on a 3-game losing streak, and I mean it's just going to be tough, and you don't know what. I think the point spread should have been a little bit higher because against Mississippi State, because you really didn't know what you're going to get. But Vegas knew, man, and they knew Arkansas was going to get blown out by 23. They had us at 9.5 pregame, so they knew what was going on. So if you have a healthy KJ, I think things start to turn around. But defensively, going to a 4-man front, being more physical, you have a chance. Oh yeah, there's a very good chance. And Jim Murphy says better players, better ingredients, Papa John's. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that was not a Papa John's a shout out. Better players, better ingredients, better results, which is absolutely correct. Because I don't know if he's going back from watching the very beginning of the show, but I do agree. And it takes time. Arkansas is still 3 years off of their worst decade in program history. They are going to have to get the better players. They're on their way. There's a Jalen Braxton kid that's a pretty high 4-star player who decommitted from Michigan State, committed to Arkansas. He's really fast too. And so there's a lot of young talent there in that secondary. They're just going to have to be developed, and they'll get there. Just look at what they've done with Hudson Clark and his ability, even just as a walk-on. There's Simeon Blair, who was a former walk-on, and you go up and down the roster, and there's guys that have limited experience or they're former walk-ons, and Arkansas was missing I think 6 secondary players yesterday. Missing Ladarius Bishop, obviously missing Catalan Slush. Brini was out for the first couple of possessions too. I did notice that. So, yeah, Arkansas's going to have to get them healthy. You thought with the transfer portal, and you never know what you're going to get because you never know when the injury bug's going to hit. And so the secondary, like we said, all year long has been an issue. They've allowed at least 300 yards in 5 of the 6 ball games, or 4 of the 6 ball games. They would have got blown out by Alabama if Bryce Young had played the whole game. He probably would have had 600 yards back if he would have got to play the whole game. But, yeah.
Well, you never know. That's why you play the game.
Yep, you're right.
It's just think. Well, Mississippi State game could have been different if KJ. It's why you play the game. We can't sit there and do the what if.
Speculate.
It's just it's the way it happens. And look, that's why we preach depth. Recruit depth, because we've always relied. Look at the first of the year, we relied heavily on Catalan coming back. Catalan's coming back. We're going to have so much strength in our defensive end. We ain't even got to worry about our defense. We got to worry about our wide receivers. Then Catalan goes out. Poole's playing hurt. You just got all this. Sanders. I don't even know where Sanders has been. Talking about the sack leader. I don't even know. I don't know where he's been the last few weeks. It's just. You got all these guys playing, and they do great the first couple of games, and then it's just like depth hits you, injury.
Yeah.
When it comes to being honest, it's like, dude, we're beat up. We're beat up right now. Yeah. So the key
and they
to
were beat
this,
up last year too.
Yeah. Until you get the depth, until you get a second string where you can rotate, where you've got guys coming in. I'm not saying you got to have 2 5-stars, but if you've got a second string or somebody who can rotate in and be there's not big of a drop-off when it comes to fulfilling into the starter, that's when you're going to start seeing this change. But when you have one string and that's all you're relying on, and you're playing in the SEC and you're playing football, you're going to have injuries. It's the way it is. And then you start piecing things together. So, that's just a lot of things that go into this. And I know we're kind of making excuses, and we shouldn't, because, this is – but, we also got to realize, Pittman's this is only really second year. That first year was the COVID year. I know we can kind of count it, but not count it. But this is really their second full year of being a program in the toughest conference. So we have the expectations. We have the promise. They did win 9 games last year. So, of course, we look at the whole – and I said you're allowed a game or 2 buffer in between. So, just because if they do drop and win 8 games this year, it's not a failure. You ain't going to come out and win 3 games and say, oh, well, we'll get them next year. They have a legit chance of getting to that 8-win season.
And if you get to those 8 wins, 9 wins this season, you look back and you're thinking, man, how the heck did we get 9 wins out of this team? And that's the thing, though. That's the thing about college football. You can have those rough stretches, and that's the beauty of football anyway. You can have those rough stretches, and you look at it at the end of the year, and I'm like, that was a success. We overcome what we had issues with all year long to come out with 8 or 9 wins. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what Arkansas is up against right now, with a pretty favorable schedule ahead of them.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up close on to the end of the show. Jacob, do you got anything else to any final thoughts of this week? Any final thoughts going into BYU?
I think Arkansas, my one question is, how physical will this team be? And how resilient will this team be when they get hit in the mouth against BYU? I want to see this team not have to depend on 1 or 2 quarters of play to stay in this game. I want them to come out not flat in the first quarter and go out there and keep that momentum up throughout the game. I think that is the biggest key to me this week is what we're going to see against BYU. Physicality and playing with max effort all game long.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. How much do they want it? Do they really want to turn this season? I mean, we are at that point. I said pivotal point. I can't stress it enough. This is a turning point in the season. You're coming off a 3-game skid, get blown out against Mississippi State. It's time to turn things around. And like I said, I'm not saying that if Arkansas loses to BYU, it's going to be the end of the season. But they have to come out and fire on all cylinders. They got to play the best they can, and that will, show me, is this team ready to move into the right direction? So, but that's all I got on that. I really want this team to turn it around. Like we said a couple weeks ago, the fans deserve to have good seasons. The fans deserve, with everything going on in the university. So we need this football team to be where it needs to be. I mean, we need it. Look what during the 3-game winning streak, what it did for the fan base. And, speaking of, all the other programs that are doing so well, we're going to debut our new show lineup. It's going to be the weekly women's sports report. It's going to be on every Monday in between 6:30. We're going to have a surprise guest on. He's going to be the one that really kind of got me in the door for covering women's sports. So be looking forward to that. It's going to be a show dedicated just to the women's sports. 30 minutes once a week. We're going to give you rundowns of all the scores, recruiting. It's going to be a first of its kind. Nobody else is doing it. So I'm going to dedicate a show. It's my passion. It's what I kind of brought to the table when I started with the Hawg Talk. So, it's long overdue. I'm able to really spend more time covering the women's sports. They deserve it, and they're going to get it starting tomorrow. So be looking forward to that. 6 o'clock. We're going to start every Monday doing the weekly women's sports report. I'm very stoked about our first guest, and then we're going to keep on trying to have coaches, players, and recruits on. So be looking forward to that. And then if it's a big hit and we keep on running well and they want more content, we'll go an hour. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. Porter, great show. As always, fans, thank you for joining us. And if you haven't already, go on Apple Podcast, go and subscribe and rate and review our podcast. Give us a like on Facebook, Twitter, and I guess our Instagram account. We don't really do much on Insta.
No.
But you can like us wherever, because you can find us wherever.
And we've not done a real good. Since we've been doing the live shows, we've not been doing a really good job when it comes to go download our podcast. But I do try to put it up every morning and put our links and stuff. But now that also we are on the iTunes app, you can go to iTunes Radio, put in the Believe Radio podcast channel, and our podcast will be in the lineup. So really proud to be a partnered with that, being partnered with the Buzz Radio Network, Believe, all of our sponsors, Bet Online, all of our local sponsors here at the Hawg Talk Podcast. But for me, Porter Hayes and Jacob Davis, that will do it for another episode. New show tomorrow night. Can't wait to catch it. We're still going to do our Wednesday preview show with BYU. So it's going to be some busy but fun times in the world of Hawg Talk Podcast. So we'll catch you tomorrow night.